Quickly before the video starts, if you guys are new to the channel and want to drop a sub, it's 100% free and it helps out the channel more than you can imagine. One more thing I'd like to mention, every file that was used throughout the video can be found in the Google Drive in the description below. Now let's begin with the tutorial. Alright, so once you're in DaVinci Resolve, first thing you want to do is go into your project timeline settings in the bottom right hand corner, put the timeline resolution to custom and make it 2560 by 1440. Now from here, you want to put the frame rate to 30. Please make sure that you're using 30 FPS, otherwise everything I show you, including the presets, will not work. Then let's scroll all the way down until we find retime process and make sure nearest is selected. From here, we can hit save. Let's go to playback, go to render cache, and make sure smart is selected. And lastly, let's go to DaVinci Resolve, go to preferences, go to user, and uncheck stop renders when a frame or a clip cannot be processed, then hit save. Now from here, we can mark the beats on our song and sync up our first clip to the first kill beat on our song. And just like that, my first clip is synced. Now what we can do is fade it in by about 1 second, as well as the clip's audio, just like this, as well as their song. Now for the velocity, BN usually adds a speed ramp right before the kill, so what you want to do is find a beat on your song where we're going to add the speed ramp. So in my case, it's this yellow marker. If I play it back, it sounds like this. As you can tell, there's a nice beat. So from here, what we can do is go inside of Open Effects and search up BCC Velocity Remap and drag this onto our clip just like this. From here, we can open up in the Effects tab, turn the temporal blur amount down to 0 and uncheck frame blending. Now from here, make sure you're on your marker of your beat. Let's add a keyframe on the velocity and let's go 3 frames to the left. So 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Now from here, let's hit the arrow to the right of the keyframe. So now we should be back on our marker and let's go 3 frames to the right. So 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Now from here, let's go into our kill, add a keyframe and go 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Hit the arrow to the right of the keyframe. So once again, we should be on our kill and let's go 5 frames to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and add a keyframe. Now from here, let's go back into our marker and where our beat is. So in my case, it's this one right here. Let's change the velocity speed to 200%. Let's hit the arrow to the right of the keyframe and turn the velocity down to 50%. Now from here, let's hit the arrow one more time and let's leave the velocity at 100%. Hit the arrow again, so we should be on our kill. Turn the velocity up to 200%. Now let's hit the arrow one more time to the right of the keyframe and turn the velocity down to 70%. Now from here, make sure you're on your kill and let's cut our clip just like this. And this portion on the right hand side, let's re-extend it so it's kind of long. And let's go to where the Victory Royale pops up. So in my case, it's about right here. As you can tell, it's starting to pop up. Let's cut our clip right here and delete the portion on the left hand side. And let's re-drag this over just like this. Now before we do anything else, re-extend this a little bit longer. Let's right click on it, select new compound clip, then let's select create. Now from here, what you can do is trim your clip down to its desired length. So in my case, it's to my red marker. And one more thing I'd like to mention, make sure you right click and unlink your clips and delete the clipped audio on the kill just like this. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. If you guys need to replay it, feel free to. Now from here, we can right click on the compound clip, select a render cache color output, and the clip on the left hand side, we can right click, select a render cache OFX filter, select BCC Velocity Remap, right click one more time and select render cache color output. With the velocity fully rendered, it should look like this. It's gonna look pretty weird at first, but don't worry, the presets will make it look a whole lot better. Now for the impact, let's right click on our compound clip and select open in Fusion page. Go into the Google Drive folder that I provided and go inside to impacts and let's drag in the pink warp puddle impact Twixtor. From here, let's connect the media in to the Twixtor, just like this. Then let's connect the S_sparkles to the media out. Now from here, we can go back into the edit tab. And now for the buildup, make sure you're on your kill and let's go 18 frames to the left. Once you are 18 frames to the left, let's cut our clip just like this. And on this portion in the middle, let's right click, select copy. And now let's hit Ctrl Z on our keyboard to undo that cut. Let's go to the end of our clip just like this, right click, select paste. And now just line up the buildup like how I do it. So it should look like this. Let's right click on it and make it a new compound clip, then hit create. Let's right click on the compound clip and select open in Fusion page. Now let's go inside the buildups folder, just like this, and drag in the VHS buildup 18. Let's connect the media in to the uni.vhs, and then the stretch edge the frames to media out. Now let's go back into the edit tab, and fade in the compound clip by about 15 frames. Now from here, we can right click on the buildup, and select a render cache color output. With the first clip fully rendered, it should look like this. And I think that looks pretty good. Now what we can do is sync up our second clip to the second kill beat on our song. As you can tell, my second clip is synced, and I actually don't want the audio for this clip, so I'm going to right click, select online clips, and just delete it. And now for the velocity, we're going to customize it a little bit different. We're going to go inside of OpenFX and type in the BCC velocity remap, and drag this onto the clip just like this. Open up in the effects tab, turn the temporal blur amount down to 0, and uncheck frame blending. Now from here, I'm going to add a keyframe on my kill and go 3 frames to the left, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Now I'm going to go to the start of my clip, add a keyframe, and go 3 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, and add a keyframe. From here, I'm going to switch this keyframe to 50%. Now I'm going to hit the arrow to the right of the keyframe, leave this one at 100%, and now I'm going to go back into my kill and go 3 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Now from here, let's go back into our kill, and I'm going to put the speed to about 500%. One thing I'd like to mention, just because I use 500% doesn't mean 500% is going to look good for your clip, so adjust it to your needs. Then let's hit the arrow to the right of the keyframe, and let's turn the velocity down to 20%, just like this. The reason why I made the velocity 500% instead of 200% is because I wanted the effect of when she pulls out her pickaxe, just like this. And personally, that's going to look very clean once we add our impact. Now for the impact, let's cut our clip on the kill, and just like the first clip, let's re-extend this portion pretty long. Then let's right click and make it a new compound clip, then hit create. Trim it back down to your desired length. Then from here we can right click on the compound clip, select open in Fusion page, just like this. Go into the folder that I provided, go inside to impacts, and from here I'm going to be dragging in the blue glint impact. Connect the media in to the BCC fast lens blur, just like this. And then the uni.ecto to the media out. Now if we go back into the edit tab, we can right click on our compound clip and select a render cache color output. And for the clip on the left hand side, so that'll be this portion right here, let's right click and make it a new compound clip, then hit create. From here we can right click on it, select open in Fusion page, just like this. Go into the folder that I provided. This time let's go inside of beat shakes, and let's drag in the clean beat shake. Now from here, connect the media in to the s_shake, and then the media out to the s_shake. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab, right click on this compound clip, and select render cache color output. With the second clip fully rendered, it should look like this. As you can tell, that 500% velocity makes the clip look very clean. Now for a transition in between of both of these clips, what we can do is go inside the effects tab, drag in an adjustment clip, and let's make it 4 frames long, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Cut it, delete the excess. Now from here, line up the adjustment clip just like how I do it, so it should look like this. Let's go to the start of it, right click, select open in Fusion page. Now from here, this time let's go inside the transitions folder and drag in the stretch transition number 4. Let's connect the media in to the brightness contrast, and then the stretch frames to the media out. Now if we go back into the edit tab, we can right click on the adjustment clip and select a render cache color output. So with the first clip, transition, and second clip fully rendered, it should look like this.
Why you mad? All up in my grab.
And I think that looks pretty good. Now what we can do is sync up our third clip to the third kill beat on our song. And just like my previous clip, I don't want the audio, so I'm going to right click, select online clips, and delete the audio. Now for the velocity, we can drag on the BCC velocity remap, turn the temporal blur amount down to 0, and uncheck frame blending. Now from here, add a keyframe on our kill at 100%, and let's go 3 frames to the left, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Let's hit the arrow so we're back on our kill, and go 3 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Let's hit the arrow to the left of our keyframe, so now we should be back on our kill. And I'm going to do something like 300% for my velocity. Let's hit the arrow to the right of the keyframe, and then turn the velocity down to 20%. Like I've been saying, you can customize the velocity to however you want, and it is going to look different from clip to clip. Now for the impact, let's cut our clip on the kill, and like every other clip, make sure we drag this portion out pretty long. Right click, select a new compound clip, then hit create. Trim it back into its original length. From here, right click on it, select open in Fusion page. Go inside the impacts folder, and this time I'm going to go in with the clean glint impact. Connect the media in to the s_shake, and then the color corrector to the media out. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab, right click on the compound clip, and select render cache color output. And for this clip on the left hand side, this portion right here, I'm going to be going with the beat shake. So once again, make sure you find a beat on your song, so that's what my yellow marker is for. As you can hear, there's a beat. So what I'm going to do is cut my clip. What I'm going to do is right click and select copy. Then I'm going to hit Ctrl Z on my keyboard to undo that cut. Let's go to the end of our montage, just like this. Right click, select paste, and then line it up just like this. Now from here, on this top portion, we can right click, select new compound clip, then hit create. Then let's right click, select open in Fusion page. This time let's go inside the beat shakes folder and let's drag in the blue warp waves beat shake. Let's connect the media in to the s_shake, then the warp puddle to the media out, just like this. Now let's go back into the edit tab, right click on this compound clip and select render cache color output. And lastly, what we can do is drag this compound up another track, just like this. And from here on this clip, let's drag this up a track just like this, and let's re-extend the clip to the left, just like this. Now what we can do is right click and make it a new compound clip, then hit create, drag it back to its original length, and then drag it back down just like this, as well as the other compound clip. Now from here, we can right click and select open in Fusion page, go back into the folder that I provided, go inside of the buildups folder, and from here we can drag in the VHS under ident background. This effect doesn't have any keyframes, so you can really put this wherever you want by connecting the nodes. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab, and as you can tell now we have a nice VHS that goes into a warp wave speed shake, into our clean glint impact. Unfortunately, mine is going to be pretty laggy, but what we can do is right click on this last compound clip and select render cache color output, and that should fix our issues. Hopefully that all did make sense. I know I kind of went through it pretty quick, but essentially with everything rendered, it should look like this. I'll play it back one more time. And now transition for in between both of these clips. Let's go inside of video transitions and drag in a crossfade, and let's make it about 8 frames long, just like this. So with the crossfade transition, it should look like this. And as you can tell, it's just a nice clean crossfade. Now what we can do is sync up our next clip. And while I'm syncing up this clip, one thing I'd like to mention, this is the stretch res clip, hence why there's black bars. If you guys do not know how to change the clip to stretch res, you click on it, scroll down until you find retime and scaling, and switch the scaling mode to stretch. What that'll do is make the clip in stretch res. As you can tell, my clip actually isn't synced, but I did that on purpose, because what we're going to do is something a little bit different with this clip. Like I said before, this is going to vary from clip to clip, but what we want to do is go inside of Open Effects and type in a BCC Velocity Remap, and drag this onto our clip just like this. From here, I'm going to turn the temporal blur mount down to 0 and uncheck frame blending. Let's add a keyframe on our kill, and let's go 3 frames to the left, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Now I'm going to go to the start of my clip, add a keyframe, and go 3 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. And I'm going to turn this velocity down to 50%. Now from here, we can go back into our kill, and what I'm actually going to do is find the frame where the guy actually gets the kill. So it's going to be something about over here. You might have to re-extend it a little bit, but essentially it'll be this frame right here. I'm going to cut my clip just like this. Now let's go back into our kill, cut this portion, delete it, and line it up just like this. It's kind of like the Victory Royale clip, and then just trim it down to your desired length. Now what we can do is add a keyframe on our velocity, go 3 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, and turn the velocity down to 20% just like this. And like I have been saying, this is going to vary from clip to clip, but essentially it is like the wind clip. Now from here, we can re-extend our clip on the right hand side before making a new compound clip just like this. Let's trim it back down to the desired length. Let's right click on the compound clip and select Open in Fusion page. From here, go inside the Google Drive folder, go inside of impacts, and I'm going to be dragging in the low blur RGB impact. Let's connect the media in to the fast lens blur, and then the uni.ecto to the media out. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab, right click on the compound clip and select render cache color output. Now from here, this portion on the left hand side, what we can do is drag it up a track just like this, re-extend it. Now let's make it a new compound clip just like this. Then hit create, trim it back down to its original length, put it back down into place. Let's right click on the compound clip and select Open in Fusion page. This time, let's go inside the buildups folder, and let's go with the tint buildup 9. Connect the media in to the s_shake, and then the warp puddle to the media out. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab. Let's right click on this compound clip and select render cache color output. And lastly, what we can do is go inside of generators and drag in a solid color, just like this. And let's make it the same length as our buildup, so it should be something like this. Cut it, delete the excess, and let's fit this in all the way, so it should be 9 frames. Let's click on the solid color, go inside of settings, and let's turn the opacity down to 50%, just like this. From here, I'm going to let this render, and I'll let you know when it's done. With everything rendered, it should look like this. And personally, I think we can't even tell that this clip has a big cut, but if we go 1 frame to the right, it is on the kill. And like I have been saying, just feel free to play around to see what works best for you. Now for our transition in between both of these clips, let's go inside of video transitions and drag in a cross dissolve. Let's click on it and make it about 3 frames. Once again, this will just give us a nice crossfade transition. Now what we can do is sync up our next clip to the next kill beat on our song. As you can tell, my clip is almost synced, but once again, we're going to change the velocity a little bit different. But once again, I'm going to delete my audio on my kill, just like this. I'm just going to fade this in by about, 20 frames. Now for the velocity on this clip, it's going to be exactly like the first clip. We're going to be adding a little bit of a speed ramp before the kill, so make sure you have a beat on your song, hence why I have this yellow marker here. And that's going to be a good point where I can speed up my clip. So let's drag on BCC velocity remap, turn the temporal blur mount down to 0 and uncheck frame blending. And once again, make sure you're on your beat. Let's add a keyframe on the velocity and go 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Hit the arrow, so now we should be back on our beat point. Let's go 3 frames to the right. 1, 2, 3, add a speed point. Now let's go into our kill and add a keyframe just like this. Go 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Hit the arrow, so we should be back on our kill. And go 3 frames to the right. 1, 2, 3, and add a keyframe. Now from here, go into your beat point, or in my case, it's my yellow marker. I'm going to turn the velocity up to 200%. Let's hit the arrow right of the keyframe. I'm going to turn the velocity down to 50%. From here, I'm going to hit the arrow one more time. I'm going to leave it at 100%. Hit the arrow again, so now we should be under kill. I'm going to turn it up to, about 300%. I might have to adjust it, but personally, I think 300 looks pretty good. Then let's hit the arrow one last time, so now we should be on our last keyframe. And I'm going to turn the velocity down to 50%. Hopefully that all did make sense. Like I said before, it's literally the same velocity as the first clip. Now for our impact, let's cut our clip on the kill, just like this, and then make sure we re-extend this portion pretty long. Let's right click, select new compound clip, then hit create. Let's trim it back down into place, just like this. Then let's right click on it, select open in Fusion page, go inside the impacts folder, and this time let's drag in the VHS impact. From here, let's connect the media in to the edge raise, and then the S_shake to the media out. Now if we go back into the edit tab, we can right click on the compound clip and select render cache color output. And while that's rendering, what we can do is go to the very start of our clip, just like this. Let's right click and make it a new compound clip, then hit create. Now from here, let's right click on this compound clip, select open in Fusion page, go inside the folder that I provided. This time, let's go inside to beat shakes and drag in the black and white beat shake. From here, we can connect the media in to the S_shake, and then the S_tint to the media out. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab, right click on this compound clip, and select render cache color output. And lastly, I am going to be adding in a 9 frame solid color. So on this one right here, since we edited it on our previous clip, we can hold Alt, left click, and drag so it creates a duplicate, and we can line it up just like this. From here, I'm going to let this render. With the clip fully rendered, it should look like this. And I think that looks pretty good. Now for the transition in between of both of these clips, what we can do is go inside the effects tab, drag in the adjustment clip, and let's make it 3 frames long, so 1, 2, 3. Cut it and delete the excess, and line it up just like this. Let's right click on it, select open Fusion page, go inside the Google Drive folder. This time, let's go inside of transitions, and drag in the directional blur transition number 3. Connect the media in to the directional blur, and then the Gaussian blur to the media out. Now if we go back into the edit tab, we can right click on the adjustment clip and select render cache color output. With the transition fully rendered, it should look like this. And personally, I think that looks very clean. Now from here, I'm going to sync up my last clip to the last kill beat on my song. Once again, I am going to delete my audio, just like this. And this is another win clip, so what we can do is go inside of Open Effects and search up a BCC Velocity Remap, and drag this onto our clip, just like this. Let's open up in the Effects tab, turn the temporal blur mount down to 0, and uncheck frame blending. Now from here, let's add a keyframe on our kill, and let's go 3 frames to the left, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe. Now from here, let's go to the start of our clip, add a keyframe, then let's go 3 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, add a keyframe, and turn the velocity down to 50%. Now what we can do is go back into our kill, turn the velocity up to 200%. Now let's go 5 frames to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, add a keyframe, and turn the velocity down to 70%. And just like the first clip, let's go into our kill, let's cut it, and let's find the first frame on where the Victory Royale is. So in my case, it's about right over here. It'll be this frame. Let's cut it, delete this middle portion, and reline it up just like this. Now from here, this portion on the right hand side, since this is my last clip, I don't need to really re-extend this. I can right click and make it a new compound clip, then hit create. Now for the impact, we can right click on the compound clip, select open in Fusion page. Once again, go inside the impacts folder and drag in the pink warp puddle impact twixter. Connect the media in to the twixter, and then the sparkles to the media out. Now if we go back into the edit tab, we can right click on our compound clip and select a render cache color output. And for this portion here on the left hand side, I'm going to drag it up a track and re-extend it just like this. Then I'm going to make it a compound clip. I'm going to trim it back into place, just like this. Then we can put it back down. Now from here we can right click on this compound clip and select open in Fusion page. Once again, let's go inside the impacts folder and drag in the VHS impact. I know this might sound weird to use an impact for our buildup, but trust me, it looks fine. Just connecting the nodes. Now let's go back into the edit tab. Right click on the compound clip and select render cache color output. And lastly, for a transition in between both of these clips, let's go inside the video transitions and drag in a cross dissolve. And I'm going to make mine about, 8 frames. From here, I'm going to let this render and I'll let you know when it's done. With my last 2 clips fully rendered, it should look like this. And personally, I think that looks very clean. Now what we can do is fade out our clip by dragging in a cross dissolve. And let's make it, about 15 frames, just like this. And now what we can do is fade out our song, just like this. I'm going to do mine out by about 5 seconds. And what we can do is add a slight curve into it by grabbing this ball. So what this will do is slowly fade out our clip, just like this, as well as our song. Now time for some reverb. What you want to do is go to your very first build-up, so that should be right here. Cut your song just like this, and then go into your kill and cut your song as well. Now from here, drag this middle portion down a track. Let's go to our first cut, so that should be right here, and go 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3. Extend the bottom audio track to the left just like this, and then fade it in by 3 frames, and then on the top one, fade it out by 3 frames. Now from here, let's go into our kill and go 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3. Re-extend the top track, but this time let's only fade in the top track just like this. Now what we can do is go inside to audio effects and search up a reverb and drag this onto our bottom audio section. From here, make this box as big as you can, just like this, and put the height down so it's about 2.6, just like this. From here, we can put the pre-delay, the -200, the reverb time at the 4000, the distance we can put to 11.6, just like this. The modulation we can turn up to 100. The low frequency we can turn up to 185. And then the high frequency, let's turn this up to 16K. The low gain we can put the 6. And then the high gain we can put the 6 as well. From here, let's turn down the low frequency to 227. The high frequency we can put to 2.4, which you might have to use the slider. So 2.4, something like this should be good. The high gain, let's put this to 1.1. The dry and wet, we can put the 18, just like this. And then the ER, we can put the -0.1. And then the reverb, let's put the 6. If you guys need to copy the settings, they're right here. Now what we can do is close out this reverb panel, just like this. Let's click on our audio, go into the audio tab, and let's put the volume to about 0.5 decibels. Now from here, what you want to do is go into your kill, just like this, and re-extend this portion. So it's kind of long. Let's click on it. Let's add a keyframe on our volume on our kill. Let's go 1 frame to the right, add a keyframe, and turn the volume to -90 decibels. So what this will do is give us a nice echo. So now it should sound like this. And I think that sounds really good. Now from here, it's pretty much up to you where you want to put this, but personally, I like putting on VHSs. So right here, where I have another VHS clip, I'm going to cut my audio just like this. I'm going to go into the kill, do the same thing. Let's drag it down a track. Let's go 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3. Drag this portion out, fade in, fade out. Once again, let's go to the other side. 3 frames to the left. 1, 2, 3. Fade in at the top one. And from here, it's the same reverb settings. So let's go to our first reverb. Let's right click and select copy. Now let's go to our new reverb, right click and select paste attributes. Select audio attributes, but uncheck volume. From here, let's hit apply. And now let's make sure to turn the volume up to 0.5 decibels. Let's re-extend the portion just like this. Go onto our kill, add a keyframe on the volume, go 1 frame to the right, add a keyframe, and turn it down to -90 decibels. Once again, it should sound like this. And if the fade out sounds pretty bad, what you can do is adjust this ball and maybe fade it up a little bit. And personally, that sounds a whole lot better. And for my last reverb, I'm gonna cut on my VHS kill just like this. And then I'm gonna go to my last win clip, cut it as well, drag it down a track. 1, 2, 3, re-extend this, fade out, fade in, Just repeat this on the other side. 1, 2, 3. Fade in. From here then, let's make this a little bit longer. Let's right click, select paste attributes. Make sure volume is unticked, then hit apply. Turn the volume up to 0.5 decibels. Go onto the kill. Add a keyframe on the volume. Go 1 frame to the right. Add a keyframe and turn down to negative 90 decibels. Once again, it should sound like this. And if it does sound bad, like I said, you can play with this fade out just like this. You might have to make it a little bit longer and make it a fade up. And that sounds a whole lot better. Coming to the end of the tutorial here, we have sound effects. So let's start by dragging in our bass swoosh and just line up the waveform. So you want to do it kind of like how mine is. We can trim off some of the excess too. And you want to line it up something about like this. And if it's lacking like how mine is, uncheck snapping, and then you should be able to drag it freely. Then make sure you re-enable snapping. Now from here we can add a marker on the bass swoosh, make it about negative 14 decibels as it is pretty loud. Next, what we can do is add in the spaz headshot, so mine is right here. Once again, line up the waveform, and mine actually looks pretty good. So let's add a marker, let's cut off some of this excess, and then make sure we fade this out all the way. Let's click on it and make it about negative 4 decibels. And lastly, if this is a win clip, make sure you add the Victory Royale sound effect. Obviously, only do this if it's a win clip. So I'm just gonna line mine up just like this. And mine is locking, so I'm gonna uncheck snapping. I should be able to drag it freely. Re-enable snapping, let's add a marker. Trim some of the excess off, and then make sure you fade this out all the way. I'm gonna make this about negative 2 decibels. So with all the sound effects added, it should sound like this. And if they're too quiet, you can raise them, or if they're too loud, you can lower them. It honestly just depends on the song. For my next clip, there is no Victory Royale, so I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard and select the spaz as well as the bass swoosh. From here then, we can hold Alt, left click, and drag, so what this will do is create a duplicate, and just simply line it up because we have the markers now. Now from here, what you want to do is repeat this for every single clip. And like I said before, if it is a win clip, make sure you add the win audio. Once you're satisfied with your edit, what we can do is render. So to do that, let's go into the Deliver tab. Make sure we are using a custom export and put the file name to something like no color correction, just so it's easy to remember. Save it to wherever you want on your computer. I'm just gonna save to my downloads, then we can hit save. Put the format to an MP4 and make sure the resolution is custom 2560 by 1440 and the frame rate is on 30. Now from here, the restricted to quality, yours might be on 80,000 kilobytes. What you want to do is delete that and hold the number 2 until you can't no more, then hit enter. Same thing goes to keyframes. Yours might be on every 30 keyframes, but switch it to every 1 keyframe. Then let's open up advanced settings, check force sizing to the highest quality, as well as force debayer to the highest quality. Once that's done, we can hit add to render queue, and then select render all. Once your video has been fully rendered, it should say completed. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab. Let's go all the way to the end of our project just like this, and let's drag in our rendered file. So mine's in my downloads, let's drag in the rendered file. Now from here, make sure you're at the start of your rendered file. Let's hit I on our keyboard, let's go to the end of it, and then let's hit O. Now from here, we can right click on it and select open in Fusion page. And what you want to do is go into the folder that I provided, go inside the color correction plus RSMB, and drag in the color correction plus RSMB. Connect the media in to the BCC film grain, and then the media out to the BCC tritone. Now what we can do is go back into the edit tab, and what you want to do is re-render this video at the same render settings as I just showed you before. And one more thing I'd like to mention, obviously this will be the file that you upload to YouTube, the one with the color correction and RSMB. Overall, please let me know if this video was easy to follow. It was honestly very hard for me to make because BN doesn't really have a set style. Every video he makes is pretty much different. And if this video did help you guys out, please consider subscribing and dropping a like on the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.